Welcome back to the channel. Thank you guys for subscribing. Now I want to dive into one of the main forages that bass key in on, and you don't hear much about it because I think people just don't care to talk about drum. A freshwater drum, the cousin of the black drum and the red drum that live in the saltwater, is a big factor in what bass eat, because this is a prolific spawner. These fish are all over North America in a million different lakes. So let's dive in to the drum, because I think this will clear up a lot of those misconceptions people have when it comes to the color red. So the color red is synonymous with springtime. Anytime you hear about great colors in the spring, you will hear the color red, you'll hear the color orange, you'll hear some kind of brown or copper. And everyone wants to say that is a crawdad because I guess we eat lobster and we think lobsters and crawdads look the same, just smaller, blah, blah, blah. And I don't think that is why fish eat red so well. Now, are there some crawdads in your lake that have orange pinchers? And yeah, but the red bait fish, or the red forage that everyone thinks is a crawdad, is a drum. That is a major misconception. Now, if you think the forage is a drum or a crawdad and you catch a fish on a red, does it really matter? No, not at all. But it is good to clear that up, because I kind of think it's important sometimes to understand why things are working so well. Now, if you're burning a red lipless crankbait across the surface and you're catching them really good, that's probably not a crawdad. I think crawdads go through the water like this, not this. So a drum spawns in June or July. So if you're talking February, March, one of the best times to throw a red colored crankbait or a red chatterbait. Those fish are probably this big, this big, this big. So you are imitating a drum. Now, the lake is full of them. These fish, when they spawn, it floats to the surface, eggs by the thousands, and little drum everywhere. And bass are eating whatever they can find that time of year. They're in the pre-spawn mode. They're feeding up, getting ready for the spawn. So they're going to eat every single one they can find. Now, these fish, once they get a little older, they're going to live down on the bottom of the lake. They have a mouth that faces downwards, and that is for them to eat shells and mussels and things that they can find on the bottom. But this fish is like any other fish, where it will eat shad. It will move up in all water columns and eat all things. So the bass, being the apex predator that they are, they need to keep the drum population down so there's enough food for the bass. So they are constantly killing those fish. So when you have colors like this, I'm not going to dive too much further into the drum. I think we've cleared up most everything. But when you have these pinks and purples with little chartreuse, I mean, that is a drum. That is what a drum looks like. Same with the reds and the oranges and these bigger, larger size baits, when crawdads typically don't get to be that big, and you're still catching them really good on these bigger baits that we always thought were crawdad imitators, but really are drum imitators. So that is a big misconception that is in fishing. And I would have never known this or thought about this, but it's kind of a cool story. And it was told to me by a diver who used to dive on the Tennessee River. And I guess he was diving for mussels. And he's told me all kinds of crazy stories, like batteries and other things that he's found on the bottom of the lake. And, whatever else he may have found, Indian artifacts. A lot of really cool stuff down there, a lot of history that lays on the bottom of our lakes. But if you fish in North America, any of the millions, ponds, lakes, streams, rivers, drum most likely live there. And for that reason, the bass there are going to eat something red at some point in time in the year. So try that, guys. Good luck to you, and I'll see you on the water.